One of the most terrifying horror stories that I can think of that can actually happen to you are literally home invasion stories. I think there's nothing worse than the idea of someone lurking uninvited inside a place where you should feel most comfortable, safe, and relaxed, whether to bring physical harm or just rifle through your belongings. It is just horrifying. And here are 10 reasons why. When I was about 4, we were broken into twice. The first time, my grandfather and mom had been grocery shopping. We arrived home and unlocked the front door, and one of the bedroom doors up in the passageway slammed shut from the change in air pressure. My grandfather must have sensed something was up and ran up to the passageway to the bathroom. Window was open, curtains swinging in the breeze, and nobody to be found. They figured he must have been there long before they arrived home, as nothing in the house was touched or taken. The second time was 3 months later. My mom woke up to someone sitting on the bed with a knife in his hand at 3 a.m. Mom says she froze. Couldn't talk, couldn't move, completely petrified. She said he was mumbling, but she couldn't make out what he was saying. Then next door neighbor's dog barked, and he just stood up and walked out. She heard the back sliding door open, and a minute or so later, the line of light shining through the curtains from the streetlight was blanked out. She grabbed the phone and called my grandfather. All she said was, there was someone in the house. He lived about 5 minutes away with her 3 younger teenage brothers. In less than 5 minutes, they pulled in the driveway and scattered to surround the house, all barefoot, only wearing their underwear. Every single door was unlocked, and the back door was open, nobody to be seen. Mom was a mess. There were big muddy footprints in the laundry under the little window she left open for the cat. It took a few days for all the weird things this creep had done to be discovered. He had shredded a blank negligee that was in the laundry basket, fed the cat and poured her a bowl of milk, poured a whiskey out of the decanter in the living room, and added ice and Coke to it. Somehow had injected solder into the eggs in the fridge, ate the leftover roast out of the fridge, cut up some catalog that were sitting on the bench, took a photo of the stovetop and another one of me sleeping on Mom's camera, and left it sitting next door to my bed. Tipped salt into Mom's shoes, the knife was out of Mom's block in the kitchen, and they never found it. Just really weird shit. The cops came, got plenty of fingerprints, but whoever it was didn't have a record. The consensus eventually, a couple of years later, was that it was an acquaintance of one of her brothers. It was a bit of a Chinese whisper's conclusion though. He'd said X and Y to person A, who told person B, etc, and it got back to Mom's brother. He was eventually locked up on some sort of psychiatric hold for something unrelated, and was never charged with the break-in. Messed my mom up for a lot of years. When I was 4, my parents worked long hours at a restaurant. They left my brother to babysit me until 10 to 10:30 p.m. at night. He's 8 years older than me, so 12 years old at the time. Every night when my parents come home, they'll ring the bell and I'll run to greet them at the door with my brother. One day the bell rings, and when I open the door, instead of my parents, it's 4 guys standing there. Apparently they had been watching the house and knew the routine. They have guns and tell my brother and me to go downstairs and watch the TV as one of the guys stands over to guard us. They let me sit there, but they tied my brother up using the Nintendo cords. I remember going to tug at the cords at my brother's wrist. I wasn't trying to untie him, it was more out of curiosity, and the guy actually pointed his gun at me and told me to stop. When they finished going through the house, they tied us both to a beam and left. After a little while, my brother wiggled out from the bindings and my parents came home. Cops were called and info was given to the police. They got a few pieces of jewelry and a camcorder. I go and walk my dog around my house pretty late at night, 12 to 1 a.m. Maybe not the safest thing, but I live in the woods and away from people. Anyways, I start walking downstairs and notice my sister's door is open and the light is on. It struck me as odd considering she moved out 6 years ago and nobody ever goes in there. I walk in to turn the lights off and close the door, and I see a man trying to hide behind the closet door. It's broken, filled with boxes, so there was no real way he could hide from me. I act like I didn't see him, and I went to grab my shotgun from the other room. I went back in and told him not to move or I would kill him. He jumped out from the closet and took off running as fast as he could right past me into the garage and out into the woods. I could have shot him, but I didn't. I saw his face. A few days earlier, he knocked on my door claiming to know my neighbor and said he was looking for copper to sell. Asked if I knew or had any old copper he could have. I gave him a few old car batteries I had, and that was that. He said he had 2 daughters he was trying to take care of. I didn't call the cops, but that was the extent of my mercy. If he came back the next night, he would be dead. Our house was broken into when I was a kid. We were on vacation at the time but came home immediately. I remember the house being a complete mess. My father owns a business, and at the time he had just upgraded his home office to new Windows 95 computers, and an office of the 90s was a gold mine for home thieves. The cops told us it was probably 5 or 6 pros who promptly left when they heard on the police scanner that our new neighbors had called it in. None of us have ever felt that safety of a home. The most startling part was finding kitchen knives in all of our bedrooms. Knowing they had watched us for some time, to know our schedule, and finding weapons that the police confirmed were probably to be used if someone was home still keeps me up at night 20 years later. In 2013, I had just turned 18 and I was kicked out of my house. I worked night shifts at McDonald's and moved in an old house, basement suite with a guy friend. I slept during the day, obviously, since I did night shift. Anyway, one day about late morning, my roommate was at work and I was in bed. I could hear an engine outside and then some flicking around at the front door. Somehow they had broke in. I could hear them quickly and frantically moving things around. I was completely frozen. I literally could not move. I decided to just keep laying there, facing the wall, not making a sound, but my heart dropped. I heard my bedroom door open. I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. I heard silence for a couple of seconds, then footsteps running out the door. As soon as I heard my front door closed and the engine start, I ran out and saw a van speeding away. By the way, they stole absolutely nothing. We had nothing of value. My bedroom was a mattress on the floor in a tiny closet area. My mom called me absolutely hysteric one day. She said a man had tried to come in through our bathroom window. It was a Saturday at 1 p.m. and I was out shopping. I came home immediately and the police were there along with our neighbor. Apparently, he had broken into the neighbor's house while she was out. He hadn't stolen anything except for a few DVDs and some of her clothes. He then left and came over to our house. We had our bathroom window open with the screen shut, so all he had to do was cut the screen to get inside. He was hoisting himself into the window when my mom walked in. She freaked out and screamed, and he fell. She said he took off after that towards our backyard. Turns out he was just a kleptomaniac and had the urge. The worst part is that it's been 3 years and my mom is still extremely paranoid. She watches people walking down the street like a hawk and accuses half of them of scoping out our house. This didn't happen to me, but happened to one of my family friends. I'll call him Jake. Jake went away to Thailand for a few weeks, the whole family including him, his brother, his brother's girlfriend, and his parents. Jake was in university at the time and had some assignments he had to finish, so he returned earlier than the rest of the family. When he got there, one of the cars was missing, and the house was turned inside out. They had opened all the vents, turned over all the furniture and rugs, emptied anything that could have something inside like drawers, pots, boxes. All the valuable were gone, jewelry, games, electronics, etc. He called the cops and everyone else came back from their holiday immediately. Turns out his brother's girlfriend had made a post on Facebook about going away. Somehow someone saw it and decided they would take their car, scope out the place, and spend the next 3 goddamn days hanging out in there and stealing all their shit. Jake's parents are the lawyers, so he had access to some kind of record that helped him find out something to be able to find them on Facebook. I don't know, some lawyer stuff, and actually found it. The guy posted a photo of him and his girlfriend. She was wearing a Jake's mother's one-of-a-kind necklaces with their stolen car in the background. The cops said it was circumstantial. The neighbors noticed the dudes robbing the place on one of the days, got their Rego, and chased them away. But still, the police didn't do anything at all. Turns out all the suspects they had were the same ones Jake had found, and they all had criminal records of robbery and assault and whatever else. Yet still nothing was done. I can't remember what happened with their insurance exactly. I don't think it covered everything, and not to mention all the goddamn cleaning they had to do. My dad dated a sketchy woman. Her family was highly involved in the Mexican cartels. Before he went to prison related to her, she passed away in his arms after a suspicious auto crash. He lost his sanity. It was my dad, my cousin, and my 17-year-old self living in our apartment. After she passed, her sister started spending a lot of time around the apartment. Nothing good to be said about that. She went a bit loopy, stole some of our belongings, including my most prized earthly possession at the time, a PlayStation Portable, then disappeared. Dad goes to prison, leaving just my slightly older cousin and me living in the apartment. My cousin and I lost our jobs at the same subcontracting company. He then thought it best to get into what landed my father in corrections. Nothing good to be said about that either. His girlfriend picks him up to take a day business trip roughly 120 miles away. I'm 18. I'm alone. The electricity is shut off. I don't even have my goddamn PSP to pass the time. I nap. I wake around 9 p.m. Knock knock. Thank goddamn God, he's been gone quite long enough. And then the banging on the door just keeps going off. I look out the peephole. No electricity means no porch light. That large figure looks like him. The smaller is his girlfriend. Ugh, she's so nasty. I unbolt the door. Why is the door now swinging into my nose? That really hurts actually. But it turns out that is not my cousin. That's the barrel of a Beretta M9. That's the sister of my dad's dead girlfriend. Who are these 2 Mexican gorillas with her and why are they armed? What the hell has my cousin gotten into? Mind racing, vomit coming up. What a comical sight that would be. Exorcism vomit drenching all 3 of them. Only it's not vomit, words instead, are about to be expelled with a sloppy, numb tongue and a mind that doesn't quite know what these words will be. Where the hell is my PSP, you crazy bitch? They are going to kill me. They'll shoot me dead and it'll be just another couple clickable chirps of the cricket that is illegal activity in this hellhole of the city that one would rightly call a ghetto. Instead, she ignores this. She wants to know where her baby stroller is. One of the huge guys wants to take my cat with them. My mouth continues to try to get me killed. They'll find no stroller. Does she even have any kids? Fade to black. I woke up to find the apartment demolished. My ass had been kicked along with the rest of my body. Our car was gone. The end. When I was about 8 years old, my family and I were away on a holiday staying at a motel. My parents had their own room, my sister was in the single bedroom, and I was in a little fold-out bed in the living room. My parents went to bed early, telling me to lock the sliding door before I went to bed, then my sister went to bed shortly after. Long story short, I forgot to lock it and went to sleep in my fold-out bed located in the front of the door. Next morning, I woke up and my parents' wallets, a bag, and some cash was gone. Robert came in through the door, stepped over me when I was sleeping, went into my sister's room, stole her bag, then went into my parents' room, stole their wallets and cash from the bedside table, then walked back over me and were on their way out. Really scary to think what he would have done if any of us had woken up. We could not sleep for a week after that and are always conscious about locking doors. My mom had recently been making a lot of brownies. On this day, she made a particular batch that was greater than any of the brownies she had made before. We ate a few, but for some reason didn't finish them, and we left them out on the kitchen stove. My mom, my sister, and I all went to sleep later that night while my dad was out at a meeting. My mom, knowing my dad would be home in just a few minutes, didn't think she needed to lock the doors before she went to sleep. Now we're all asleep and my dad pulls into the driveway. The first thing he notices is that our garage is open and his bike is standing outside. Then he turns and locks into the house. Standing in our kitchen is a man. My dad didn't realize what's going on. At first, he assumes that one of his friends had come over, wanted to borrow his bike, but was waiting for him to come home so he could ask him. Then the man inside our house sprints out the back door. My dad starts to chase him but stops. He knows we're inside and he wants to make sure we're okay. So now we're all gathered downstairs and we notice something. The intruder walked into our house and the first thing he would have seen is the kitchen table. On the kitchen table were 3 wallets, all untouched. Then we looked over and see the plate of brownies completely destroyed. The man who had broken into our house skipped over our valuables and went straight for the brownies. At the time, I was more disappointed by the fact that we didn't get to finish them than scared that we had kind of been robbed. Obviously, my mom and dad were pretty freaked out and they bought an alarm system for the house. And my dad didn't sleep for a few days. But other than that, the only thing we lost were some brownies. So what do you think of these stories? Let me know in the comments down below. I thought the story with the brownie was kind of cute, but very unsettling and just weird. The brownies have definitely saved the day. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe and hit the bell. There's another mystery link in the description, make sure to check that out too. Lock your doors, check your closets and windows, and stay safe. I will see you in my next video.